Hey guys, Will's Garage here. In this video, I'm going to be installing a front splitter on my E92 M3. I went with the BimmerWorld front splitter, as you can see here. Really high quality, full carbon fiber piece, very rigid, as you can see here. And I'm going to modify it a little bit though. I wanted to extend back to replace the under panel. And as you can see here, I got some diffusers, which I plan to add. And it has a little extra fin here. As you can see, the designer and the seller said that these help the diffusers work regardless what height they are set at. He claims that the ones that don't have this little fin have to be a specific height for them to work. I don't know if that's true or not, but we'll find out if these work. These are also apparently CFD designed, and the seller claims that it will add 100 Newton meters of downforce at 100 miles per hour. For the extension portion, I picked up this carbon fiber sheet from AJ Hartman. It was a custom order, and the thickness is slightly off from this one here, so I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm going to combine the two pieces together. That's gonna be kind of tricky. Not exactly sure how I'm going to do it yet, so it's going to be a custom freestyle job. So I'm just going to first fit this onto the car, take some measurements, and go from there. Alright, so in order to mount the rear section of the splitter, I got these Condor Speed Shop splitter mounts, and they're supposed to sandwich in between the radiator support and the frame rail. They're supposed to work along with the Professional Awesome mounting hardware, as you can see here. So I'm going to try to fit these in and see how they work. Alright, so I got it mounted right here. Very tight fit, sandwich right up in between the frame rail and the radiator support. This is the passenger side. Now for the driver's side, I think this side's going to be a lot trickier because this power steering hose is in the way. I don't think this applies to the regular E92s, but on the M3 right here, this power steering hose lines right up on where the support bracket's gonna be coming down. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to relocate this power steering hose. I'm gonna have to bend this mounting point out of the way. Alright, so I got the driver's side bracket mounted. One thing though, this power steering hose right here had to be shifted forward because, as you can see, you don't unmount it at this location right here. It's going to get in the way of the bracket, so I have to shift it forward. So I'm just gonna find a piece of scrap metal or maybe scrap carbon to extend the mounting point forward. The only thing though is shifting it forward causes certain hoses to touch each other. So put a bunch of heat shield around the hoses right here. I know it's hard to see. There you go. Just to protect the hoses from melting each other. All right, so I took a scrap piece of carbon fiber and made a bracket to relocate the power steering hose forward a little bit. It is touching the oil cooler hose now, but I have this heat shield around it, so it should be fine. I also heat shielded the other surrounding hoses that might be touching, and everything else clears. So everything's looking good. So the BimmerWorld splitter comes with this beautifully curved portion right here. It allows you to attach the splitter to the stock under panel piece. Since I'm not going to be using that, and I'm going to be adding an extension portion, I'm going to cut this off, sand it down to make it nice and smooth. I have the cardboard template traced out and I cut it. I need to double check this again, but I traced the top part onto the carbon fiber already. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the top part out first, and then I'm gonna re-measure, double, triple measure this cardboard template to make sure it's the correct size before I trace out the bottom portion and cut the carbon fiber extension piece. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, so the extension piece is cut to size, and here is the mock-up. It is far from perfect, but I think this is just about as close as I'm going to get. As you can see, there are gaps in certain areas, but my main intention is to get the edges as close as possible. There's a huge gap right here, but I don't care because I'm going to be putting the tunnel diffuser right here, so I'm going to end up cutting this section out anyways. Same with this on this side. So the edges are close, so that's good to go. But before I bond and rivet these two pieces together, I got a shipment that came in from Ridgeline Motorsports. So I'm using their GTS brackets along with the aluminum bar. As I mentioned earlier, there are fasteners in the front section here that go into the bumper, but I don't think that's going to be enough to hold up the splitter, so I want it to be chassis mounted in the front section. So I'm going to have the rear section mounted to the chassis using those Condor brackets along with the Professional Awesome mounting brackets. And then I'm planning to have this Ridgeline Motorsports aluminum bar. It should land somewhere around here, even if it fits. I'm not sure what I'm going to have to do with this section, because it looks like the mounting section right here lines up exactly with where the tunnel diffuser is going to be. So I'm going to have to figure that out. Hopefully it's still going to fit, and maybe the only thing I have to do is to lop off the ends on each side to make it work. But let's find out. Alright guys, so I have the splitter mocked up as you can see right here. And take a look at this. Hopefully there's enough lighting here. But as you can see, the GTS bar sits about 1/2 inch. Let me get my camera to focus. There you go. So it's sitting about 1/2 inch or so above the splitter, which is fine. I think I'm just going to use some splitters to make up that 1/2 inch space. By the way, this is how much I had to cut the bumper to make the GTS lip fit. To mark exactly where I need to drill the holes, I'm going to use a bit of Elmer's glue. Alright, so I'm just testing to make sure the holes are lined up properly, which they are. I don't have the right length bolts right now, so just test fitting it. And it all looks pretty good. The next step here, I'm going to be merging these two pieces together. And I already cleaned and sanded down the surfaces to make it rough for the splitter end right here. Even though I sanded it down, it still feels really smooth, so I'm kind of concerned on how that's going to bond. For the extension, this is already rough, so I think it's going to bond fine. For the bonding, I'm going to be using BimmerWorld. I can already hear you guys kind of screaming or shaking your head about this. I'm sure there are better epoxies out there from 3M and whatnot, but BimmerWorld is what I have, so I'm going to be using that. But don't worry, I am going to be riveting the two pieces together after this sets by using these pieces on top, like that. So it should hold together. So here we have it. Check out the ghetto rig I have going on here. This turned out to be a lot more involved than I expected. I was trying to make the bottom as flat as possible. This splitter right here is not perfectly straight, whereas this extension is perfectly straight. So I had to shift some weights around to make it as even as possible. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. There are going to be a little bit of imperfections on the bottom side, but I'll figure it out later.
24 hours later.
All right, guys, so 24 hours later, the BimmerWorld has cured, and this whole thing is now one solid piece. As you can see, it feels really sturdy already. But of course, I'm not going to just trust BimmerWorld alone. I'm going to drill some holes and rivet this down. Also on the ends right here. And the rear mounting point from the frame rail is going to go somewhere around here. And then the tunnel diffuser is going to go somewhere around right here. See, the rivets are all in. I also added rivets on each end right here. Really happy with how it looks so far. This thing is rock solid. That's what the rivets look like on the bottom section. One thing I'm a little disappointed with is this left side right here is a little off. It's off by probably about a millimeter or so. Whereas this side, I got everything lined up perfectly. But it shouldn't be a problem though, because as a final step, I'm going to use some plastic bonder just to smooth everything out. Alright, well, you check this out. Fits perfectly. Perfect height and everything. Let's check out the clearance of all the hoses and everything. Pretty much exactly what I expected. So this is where I plan to mount the Professional Awesome Quick Disconnect. And as you can see, I have a 1-inch aluminum bar on the bottom. And the reason why I'm putting that in is because I plan to add additional reinforcement down the middle. I'll show you guys more on it later on. Ideally, I wanted to have the quick disconnect trigger on this end right here, but it wouldn't fit because this caster mounting subframe is in the way. So it's gonna have to go towards the front area. We're going over to the driver's side. This side's a little more problematic. Similar to the other side, I had to set the orientation so that the trigger's facing towards the front of the car. But the problem is this power steering fluid is in the way. But that shouldn't be a problem because I can just cut off the T-section of this trigger, and that should provide me enough clearance to operate the quick disconnect. All right, fits perfectly with zero obstruction now. This is where the tunnel diffuser is going to go. I put the wheel on earlier and I turned the wheel left and right just to make sure there's enough clearance. I'd say probably about like an inch or so. But I think this is going to work. Worst case is if it doesn't fit, I'll have to just cut further deep into the splitter towards the front. Alright, so this is what it looks like now. Went kind of rivet crazy. Didn't want to, but didn't have a choice. Still bowing out just a little bit, as you can see, but I'll live with it. This is what it looks like on the other side. And used BimmerWorld plastic bonder. It sets within 15 minutes and cures within 30 minutes. I ended up using a lot more rivets than I originally wanted to. but I'd rather have more rivets and be sure that everything is secured than not. So I also spoke to the seller that makes these tunnel diffusers, and he had a lot of good input. I think he really knows what he's talking about. He was suggesting if I had a router to route out the outline of these diffusers so that it would sit flush. Problem is, I'm using carbon fiber and the thickness of this material is just about 3 or 4 millimeters. So I don't have enough material to route out the outline to make it flush. So he said that's likely going to impact the airflow. But, you know, I just got to make do with what I have. The other thing he mentioned is that the front lip should be beveled. And it should be beveled on the bottom side, which unfortunately, as you can tell here, this is the bottom side that's facing up right now. The bottom side is not beveled, but the top side is beveled. So he's saying you want to have the bottom side beveled so that the air will attach better on the bottom side and glide through. Maybe it's for aesthetics. In my opinion, I think it does look better to have the top beveled, but for performance-wise, supposedly having the underside beveled generates more downforce. So bevel the bottom of it so that you get more air attachment. Have everything as flush as possible, which unfortunately, because I made an extension, this side's flush, this is not perfectly flush. Have the diffusers completely flush as well. And also, in my case again, it doesn't help that I have a bunch of rivets. It's probably going to cause a lot of air turbulence. And then also have the splitter planed so that it represents the underside of a rear wing. If you have all three of those aspects on your splitter, supposedly from what he told me, it's going to generate a massive amount of downforce. So I'm just going to go ahead and mount this onto the bumper now, and then mount it onto the car. Oh, and if you guys are wondering how much this thing weighs, 13 pounds and 3.9 ounces. Of course, this doesn't include the mounting hardware that I put on the car. Alright, so splitter is officially on the car, fully mounted up and secured. Looks like a regular BimmerWorld splitter. That's fully extended, got the diffuser tunnels. You see the, I don't know if the camera's picking up, but the screws mounted right up into the rib nut on the GTS bar, with the Professional Awesome mounts in the back right here. Here's the other side. I'm just hoping I won't run into issues with this power steering hose touching the oil cooler, even though I have the heat shield wrapped around it. Here's a shot of what the bottom looks like. So as you can see right here, these bolts go up into the Ridgeline Motorsports GTS bar. So that's where the front support will be. And then you have the elevator bolts right here for the Professional Awesome mounts in the rear. And again, unfortunately, I couldn't get this perfectly flat, but you know, I'll live with it. This side, however, is perfectly flat. I don't think the camera's picking it up. Hopefully you guys can see. I mean, all these rivets that I put in the middle, that's not going to help airflow. but I'll just live with it. Hopefully this performs as well as it looks. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. I haven't attached the fender screws up here yet because I'm going to install Flossman fenders next. These ones here that I have on the shelf. So I'm gonna fit the Flossman fenders on first and then get them painted. And in order to fit those Flossman fenders, I think there's a few things I need to relocate in the back here, such as this washer fluid bin. I think I'm just gonna take it out and remove it completely. Since this is a track car, I don't need that anymore. It's gonna be some nice weight savings. On the driver's side here, there's this pump that I'm gonna have to relocate. And I'm probably gonna show that in the next video. So hope you guys enjoy this video. Stay tuned for more. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.